Hello everyone, this tutorial is about giving you essential hints in less than 5 minutes. So what's going on your website? First thing, we need to log in into Google Analytics. So you can go under analytics.google.com and enter your username and password. This is the home screen of Google Analytics 4. I find this screen sometimes confusing because every block shows a different time scale. For example, the first one is over 7 days. The second one here is about 30 minutes. And I can find another one here, for example, which is over 60 days. I generally like to jump straight to the life cycle area. But before that, let's have a quick look at the real-time dashboard. At least all the records we see here are from the same time frame, which is the last 30 minutes. The bubbles on the map indicate where the people are connecting from. And by the way, I'm using the Google Merchandise Store as an example, so don't feel bad if you don't have so many visitors. Real time is not 100% real time. I think there's a lag of maybe 10 to 20 seconds. So you have to be patient if you try to spot yourself in there. Looking at the paragraph called Views by Page Title and Screen Name, you can see where the visitor is currently going in your website. The Users by User Source paragraph shows you where the visitor came from before they landed on your website. Let's jump to the Lifecycle area under Acquisition Overview. What is nice now is that we can select the time frame about the data we're looking at. Especially if it's a small business and you don't have thousands of visits every day, I like to select at least 90 days, if not more, to have enough data. I also noticed that by selecting custom dates, we have a lot more precision in the data rather than if we choose a custom preset. Like if I pick, for example, last 90 days, which is a custom preset, then we come and look at acquisition overview, users, then every dot when we hover the line represents a period of like 5 or 10 days. Whereas when we pick a very specific time range, let's take, for example, the 1st of January until the 14th of April, then we will have a curve that has a lot more dots, and every dot represents a day. So to me, it's a lot more precise, and I like that. So these curves indicate us how many visitors we have every day. And we can see that before the 27th of January, we didn't have any visits, and that's just because the website wasn't live yet. In the Google Merchandise Store, we can actually see that there are less people coming during the weekend on Saturday and Sundays. And this is happening every week, almost the same pattern. Let's jump to acquisition, traffic acquisition. And in this dashboard, you can see where the people come from, how they were referred to your website. The first thing I like to do here is to augment the row per page. So we can see that Google itself brought us the most visitors. And when it specifies organic, it means that it comes from a search engine. When it specifies referral, this is generally coming from a simple link in a website. We can see a lot of direct non-traffic. This is generally happening when somebody types in your domain name directly in the web browser, or somebody has a shortcut in their web browser. It could also come from sources like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger that are very hard to track because there is no originating URL. Not set is a placeholder for data that analytics could not read or translate. A lot of this data is relying on cookies, and we have, for example, Safari and Firefox not accepting cookies by default anymore. So people using those web browsers to visit your website might not leave enough data for analytics to recognize where they came from. So I would not be surprised if in the future direct none and not set get bigger and bigger numbers. Another remark, if you're trying to measure traffic coming from Facebook, what you should do is type in Facebook into this search field, and you will see different web address from Facebook coming up. And this is because Facebook is doing link shimming. So they're sending traffic from different addresses, but all those addresses needs to be grouped into one if you want to measure your traffic from Facebook. Let's jump to engagement overview. So on this screen, you can see the representation of how much time the people spend on your website. But where do they spend all this time? So let's click on pages and screens. Here you can find the top most visited pages of your website, and generally the home page comes first. Let's jump to demographics overview. On the first block, you can actually see where your visitors are physically coming from, and we can click on View Countries to see more details about that. This data can be biased by the use of a VPN. So let's say a visitor from France is using a VPN. He could trick the system into believing that he's coming from the United States. Let's go back to demographics overview. And the next one I like to look at is the user by language. So if we click on View Languages, there we can see which language is installed on the operating system visiting your website. And this is a lot more reliable if you try to define where the person comes from, or at least which language they speak. Moving on to tech overview. In the block Users Device by Category, you can see how your visitors are accessing your website, if it is with a tablet, with a mobile phone, or with a regular desktop or laptop. The screen resolution is very interesting for us developers. Same thing for the most used web browsers. And operating system is also an interesting data to look at. I have one of my clients who has a lot of Macintosh and iOS visitors, which are expensive devices, and it tells us a lot about the kind of clientele they have. Moving on to Analysis Hub. So from there you can create custom views, and if you're working with us, normally you should have at least the market landing pages. Market landing pages allows you to measure traffic coming from specific links you can create yourself. Let's take an example. Let's create a custom link, and we're going to start with a regular address of where we want to land, and it's going to be, in our case, mhf-sxm.com, event equal, and then I can put the name of my custom event. Choose preferably something without special characters or space. In our case, I'm going to try to use lightmoon-test. Whenever somebody will click on this link, it will create a specific event called, in our case, lightmoon test, and it will show in this view. This is very useful, especially if you want to see who clicks on the link in the newsletter, for example, or anywhere you place this link. If your website has a search functionality, we will also add the searched queries view, and this will give you an overview of what keywords the people are typing into your website. There are a lot more customization possible in Google Analytics, but we want to keep it short into this 5-minute video that is now more than 8 minutes. But I hope this already gave you a usable overview. And if you want to dig deeper, I will try to place some interesting links in the description of this video. Thank you for watching this video, and goodbye.